Well, Australians are being warned to be water safety conscious during this holiday period, following a record-breaking summer for drowning deaths last year. In 20 years of fatal drowning data, last summer has had the highest number of people on record for drowning at 145. Joining me now live is Royal Lifesaving CEO Justin Scarr. Justin, thank you so much for joining us. What is the deadliest period for drowning deaths?
The deadliest period, in fact, is between Christmas and New Year, and that's a consequence of the sheer number of Australians that are out and about enjoying our wonderful waterways. They're consuming alcohol around those waterways, and in some cases they're sadly not supervising their children well enough to keep them safe around water.
Yeah, it is that party season that's coming up, as you said, but a record number of drownings over the last summer, 145. Why so many?
Yeah, last summer we had a significant heat wave between Christmas and New Year across the eastern states, and we also had flooding and significant water moving through waterways. And if you remember COVID, people were so desperate to get out and about and enjoy a holiday, and so people flocked up and down the coast. They were also going to inland waterways, unfamiliar locations. And at Christmas time, people also rediscover their love of swimming, and occasionally there are other medical conditions that they've accumulated over the years put them at significant risk of drowning.
So it's not just backyard pools or oceans where people are drowning?
No, it's inland waterways, rivers and lakes. There's some beautiful rivers and lakes across our regional areas, and tourism is booming in those locations. But if you're unfamiliar with the watercourse, if you're unfamiliar with currents and debris moving through the river, you can put yourself at significant risk of drowning.
Yeah, and it certainly is a worry. What about in terms of parents? What should they be aware of, particularly with kids in backyard pools and perhaps unsupervised when mum and dad are busy, celebrating? Yeah,
children in backyard pools, the peak age of risk there is between 1 year and 2. So you can imagine children are very, very mobile at those ages. So supervision is critical, but the pool fence is life-saving. At this time of year, make sure that your pool fence and gate is in good working order. And then, of course, a generation of children have missed out on swimming lessons as a consequence of COVID closures. In fact, this generation of children, the children that perhaps have graduated from Year 6 just in the recent weeks, are probably the worst swimmers Australians have ever seen. They've missed out on significant lessons, and really they're at significant risk of drowning over summer. So take your children to the local pool, refresh their skills, assess their skills. If they're unable to swim 50 metres by 10 years of age, it's time to re-enrol them in swimming lessons early in the new year.
That's really interesting that the pandemic has had such an impact. How long do you think it will take to get kids back and competent again like they once were?
Yeah, absolutely. We need significant measures. Governments across the country have to act, and they have to act in the new year. There's a generation of kids, particularly kids from vulnerable communities, from migrant families, from Indigenous communities, from outer suburbs in our big cities, have been squeezed out of lessons in local swim schools. Schools haven't been able to get into local pools as well. And so we're going to have to work really hard to make sure those children, particularly between the ages of 7 and 10, get swimming lessons in the next 12 months. Otherwise, they'll be teenagers, and teenagers unable to swim are really a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, absolutely. It's certainly a worry. So how can people start preparing now then for the summer period?
Well, a life jacket would be a great Christmas gift. If you're boating or fishing, if you've got children that are interested in fishing, absolutely mandatory to wear a life jacket. You can also designate a supervisor, a child supervisor, one of the adults if you're having a Christmas party. Of course, the backyard pool is a great place on Christmas Day to have fun, but make sure one of the adults is watching children constantly. Preferably they're sober. They need to watch them and make sure that they don't participate in silly games, or the young ones don't fall in accidentally. And of course, if you're traipsing around the country on holidays, think water safety. Look at the local waterways. Always choose a patrolled location if it's available, or talk to the local tourism authority or perhaps the caravan park to assess the best place, the safest place for your family to swim.
Some really good advice. What would be your message to people this summer?
Stay safe. Enjoy our wonderful waterways, but enjoy the waterways safely.
Some really good advice. Justin Scarr, lovely to speak with you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.